Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well on this Thursday, 31 August 2023. It is with pleasure that I meet with you today to talk about BNB, crypto, BNB chain, and Binance. Obviously, when we talk about BNB, we cannot not talk about Binance when talking about the BNB chain. As usual, we will dissect it into two parts. This analysis, a fundamental part where we will come back to what BNB is, what BNB chain is, what Binance is, the problems it currently encounters, and the developments of the BNB blockchain chain. And then we will go to the technical part to project ourselves in the short, medium, long term, because you will see that there is a very, very important support zone that we are currently in the process of retesting that we should not absolutely not break. It starts right away. How not to talk about BNB and its blockchain without talking about Binance. So Binance is the largest exchange in the world currently. It is by far really the one which capitalizes the most volume and which is instantiated in the most effective countries. It is really the exchange which stood out during the last bull run and which quite simply dominated the overall transaction volume. Cryptos currently. So it's an exchange which is centralized, which offers a lot of things, which offers the exchange part, an academy part where there is a lot of content. We are going to have a VIP institutional part, which is very strong. We are going to have a DEX, which is integrated into it, and we will have everything that we can usually find in an exchange. So from the launch pad, the research part in which we can inject funds, in any case, they inject funds into projects which are interesting. There will be the whole mining part, which will be integrated into it. Finally, there is many things, and in particular, they have their trust wallet, so which is a specialized wallet, well specialized, which is in any case specific to Binance, and which allows you to have access, in fact, to all the other cryptos, and which is protected by Binance, the Binance institution, not the centralized exchange. Next to and behind, we have the BNBC chain, which is an EVM-compatible blockchain, a layer 1, which has a particularity, is that it is a blockchain which is decentralized. No, I'm kidding. It's a blockchain which is highly centralized. With 21, they were at 22 nodes. Now they have moved to more than 40, but we are still in something which is very centralized, to the point that when there was the hack of the BNB chain and there was the issuance of $600 million of BNB, which was carried out on this hack, in fact, they stopped the blockchain to block the person and block the funds. So we are really in this process. So it implies that currently there is a bad debt at the BNB level. We must be aware of it. $600 million which have been generated, which are blocked at the current time, and in which part has been burned, but not all. What is also interesting is that the BNB chain has had a lot of developments, and this is also seen through the site which presents the BNB chain. There have been a lot of developments. They have instantiated a renewal, that is to say the fact of being able to go from 20 validators to 40, therefore doubling the validators. And above all, in fact, there is an improvement given that they are in the process of lead to an instantiation of layer 2 on Ethereum. Very important at the base, the BNB chain had a big boom because it was directly linked to Binance, and above all because it offered a way to do decentralized finance at low cost at the time when we found ourselves on exorbitant costs at the Ethereum level. Here we are currently positioned differently. The BNB chain becomes a layer 2 based on the ZK rollup to instantiate its blockchain. So we will have a reduction in the costs of the BNB chain and above all a form of decentralization through the security of Ethereum. So the notion of a validator of the L2 chain's own matters much less. It still matters a lot, but it is a much lesser point. Next, when we talk about BNB, BNB is used for several things. BNB is used to, of course, pay fees on the BNB chain, which is logical, something normal, and it is also used a lot on the centralized Binance platform, in which you can pay your transaction fees with a small restaurant by paying in BNB, and we will have several other things in which BNB will be interesting, notably in the launchpad, etc. Nevertheless, the important element is that we have a burn which is continuous. So here it is, the 23rd, which dated from April. I no longer have the last one, but that does not prevent it. It's a burn that is quite significant. Each time we're talking almost between 1 and 2 million, or even a little more. It can go up to 4 million of BNB when we are in a bull run in which we really have a lot of burn. We are talking about $400 million each time, which are burned every quarter. As a result, this reduced the total supply of BNB. We are currently at 155 million BNB. So we are in fact concentrating the value of BNB. What also makes this asset attractive is that we have something which is deflationary with behind a utility which is mainly carried by Binance, which is the leader of centralized exchanges. And we have a tech which was not exactly decentralized, but which is starting to move towards ZK proof, therefore, of the ZK rollup, therefore, which allows us to have a reduction in fees and above all to use the security of Ethereum. So there we are going to find ourselves in something which will be relatively nice. And the question that we will have to ask ourselves is that BNB and the valuation it has really reflect the usefulness it has. And we are not going to hide the fact that it is strongly linked to Binance and therefore, everything that happens with Binance impacts the BNB. And we know that a lot of things are happening at Binance. We know that they were turned away from several countries in which they had their authorizations. There are investigations underway almost everywhere for either money laundering or being able to support terrorist movements, etc. Clearly, we are not going to hide the fact that I think that the fact that Binance always gives access, for example, to Russia and the Russians, on cryptos plays a huge role on the pressure that it is currently undergoing on all other sectors. The other thing is that Binance is in a monopoly position. Well, almost a monopoly. We are not going to hide it in relation to the volume, and that there are certain traditional finance players who want to launch into the crypto, but we have to make room, so we put pressure on one of the players to be able to move up. Afterwards, you have to be very careful because Binance, even if it is the person who defended cryptos during almost the entire bear market, that does not prevent us from ever being safe from a failure of the centralized product. And so remember, just because it's the leader doesn't mean it can't collapse or can't have a hack, etc., etc. Always take a step back from this and don't always place all your funds on the same centralized exchange, or at least on a centralized exchange. As much as possible, and don't leave everything in the same place. It's already a good thing, even if you don't want to bother with a ledger or things like that. By finishing the fundamental part, we will attack the technical part. So the technical part you will see, which is really symptomatic of a blockchain that explodes, in which we have the very long-term accumulation part, in which we really have the establishment of a token which fluctuates on an accumulation zone. Then we have the rupture of accumulation with the acceleration at CR at the beginning of 2021, advent mainly of the Binance exchange and the BNP chain blockchain, which serves as a substitute for building decentralized applications. Something that has a lot of valuation, we see that we have a first acceleration, retracing, second acceleration, retracing, third acceleration, retracing. So we already have here 5 elitist waves for precisely an upward acceleration as we should. And precisely we find ourselves afterwards in a retracing, which is carried out by treating ABC with something which is very long, very strong, and in which we are reworking here in a range period. What is also interesting is that we find a wick-off pattern, which we know very well for those who follow the chain. We mainly find a distribution in BC, Arkansas ST, jump D agreement. So stopping the uptrend with the pain and climax, we retrace, we do the automatic rally, we will retest with the jump of a test stop, and then we sink to make the sign of weakness, the sow, to accumulate this accumulation. On BNB, while all cryptos were collapsing, BNB set up a range which was noted here on Celsius. Okay, since Celsius, we are in a range where we oscillate between generally $200 and $350. All right? So we are still in this pattern, and we see that we have been retesting the lower part very strongly for some time, with in particular this huge candle, which is linked to the SEC's announcement on the prosecutions at the level. Tokens, which can be securities. And we are not going to hide the fact that BNB is strongly considered as a security. If we bought BNB, it is not for what it represents at the chain BNB level, but more on what it represents at the Binance level. And we must not hide the fact that, yes, BNB is a security. In any case, in my opinion, it is considered a security. Even if it has a utility, it does not spoil. But the investments which are made are mainly linked to use on Binance. And it shows because other altcoins in which we had a very strong rebound, we retested the high parts. So we went back to test the breakout patterns linked to the SEC. This is not the case. We see that we do have a sign of weakness. We certainly have a form of lethargy with a very strong recovery zone here. And we see that we are in the process of retesting the lower part. Don't forget that in this area, so 180 to 115 for me, this is the Binance redemption zone. So it's not official, it's me who assumes it when I look a little at the different monetary flows. It's an area in which Binance is able to buy back its own tokens to be able to maintain the price. And that's something that is not out of the ordinary. It is something that is common for exchanges in which there is a slight real manipulation of the prices of their tokens to be able to ensure their generic valuation. And there we find ourselves in the same pattern where we are, yes, in a moment, where the BNB itself is maintaining itself in this zone. but is not able to perform. What will happen if we actually break this level, break the 200, and especially if we break the lot that was made on Celsius, a lot that we protected throughout the rest of the bear market, with notably the FTX crisis? This would be really very bad because it implied that the rupture of the 200 and the rupture of the 180 would lead to a return directly to the next zone, which would here be the zone of the 135 DD agreement. So that would really be a very weak area. And if things ever went really bad, we'd go get the 46. I can admit to you that if we have a BNB that falls on the 46, it will really hurt the entire crypto ecosystem, and it would add very strong pressure at the level of a bank run, really important on Binance, and there it could put the platform in danger. Although I think she has the funds, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't take any risks. We need to understand the risks that are linked to that. In any case, in all cases, if Binance is going to have a crash and a real bank run, even if it comes back afterwards, I mean, if we are going to look for levels which are very low, like the $30, you have to understand that on this, the impact on the entire crypto ecosystem will be very, very significant, okay? We will really have something that will sink in very strongly with certainly a BTC, which will retest the $15, therefore the lot that we placed. So here, you really have to watch Binance. For me, I tend to think it's a bit like TRX, where you're systematically bought back. So for me, I'm going to play it more like a form of range where we go into the lower parts. I'm going to try to re-expose myself in a game below 200 to get the 350. In any case, I tend to tell you that BNB is a representation of Binance. Currently, Binance is leader, and I think it will remain leader unless there is a big, more technical problem or bank run, which could go badly for Binance, but which will remain leader on the next bull run. So that is exactly a level to play. Can we look further down? On the other hand, I told you, yes, we can look a little bit further down to potentially look for a little strand here to look for equity below, so really something, which could be quite aggressive, potentially looking below the 180 if we're looking for exposure. On the other hand, be very careful. If you see a big candle, don't get in front of it. Always wait until there is a renovation and a small retest before you can go in. Because if you ever get swallowed, this means that we will look much lower. So what is interesting to see is what prospects we can have for BNB. BNB is simple. We still have something which is in the process of burning, in which we have a maxi plat, which is in the process of decreasing. We have the representation of an exchange, which is leader. We have a BNB chain, which is moving towards a scalable layer 2 of Ethereum at low cost. Well, we actually have everything to have a BNB that performs. So on this, we could aim for wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3 Elliotists. So in a notion of usual fractality, we could look here for a large wave 3 with a target of 1.618 for a BNB in the around $1,200 minus $1,300, which would seem completely coherent to me at the end of the bull market, with behind still a hegemony of Binance as a centralized exchange with potentially new products and behind an increase in volume, because we recall that they gorged themselves completely during the previous bull run. It will be identical during the next one, and therefore behind a very significant valuation of the BNB, which will result with a continuity and even an acceleration of the burning, therefore an acceleration of the concentration of value. Anyway, that's my strategy. I hope you like this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a comment, a like. It always makes me very happy. It supports the channel. It supports me in the work that I do every day. And if you like this type of analysis, I'm sure you'll appreciate the relatively critical analysis I did of ADA, Cardano's crypto. I'll give you the link, and we'll see you at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning to the daily.